Okay, hello everybody. Um, Welcome to this week's um, timeline jumping Q&A support. Now, let me bring up the chat to make sure. Now, there's not much of a. I want to get to your questions pretty quickly. There's not much in the way of a preamble today, other than to say that big goals, both physical and energetic goals, as it relates to the whole planet, were met this week, culminating in the solstice, and things have continued to steamroll ahead since then. And as a result, although it's already started, over the next 6 months, well, even starting in July, the real, how can I put it, because clearing has reached a certain point in all the non-physical realms and planes, pretty much everything is cleared. Not quite 100%, but pretty much everything is cleared, at least in normal time space, throughout all planes. Now, what that means is that the cosmic energies can really start bringing in all the original divine blueprints of all life on Earth, both physical and non-physical. So for those of you who are sensitive, yeah, you've noticed stuff happening, but that stuff's been happening for quite a while. What I'm talking about is something way more visceral in terms of better energies and actual change, even at the physical plane, starting sometime in July. Because the original blueprints of all creation is being, you could say, reinstalled throughout all planes of existence on this planet, beginning as of about the solstice, but it's sort of going to really take hold, really spread over the next 3 to 6 months, which is great. That makes, 2024 a far more interesting, in a very positive sense, a far more interesting year. And, it is possible we may not need to wait till 2024 for the energetic roughness to die down. And if you see, I mean, if we do get the collapse of the physical matrix sometime in October, and don't worry, it'll be brief. That's how you know we made it. Okay, when everything else has been done, at least in the non-physical sense, even in the physical sense, and this matrix and so-called world that as we know it, as we see today, collapses. Economic crash, civil unrest, that's when we're there. The true transition within the physical plane, which has been building up and building up, has finally is occurring. So July is going to be interesting, even. Okay. All right, it's good to see you're on, Pat. So I want to get on to people's questions. And I better mention now that the week after next, all right, the Q&A the week after next might be postponed by a week, because let's just say I have plans for the 144K to really explode the numbers, and to really effectively create a movement. Okay. Because one thing about the 144K is there's an aspect that I'm going to add to it, or component that I'm going to add to it, that's going to provide a lot of disclosure, a lot of revelations to a more mainstream audience. And that's going to start sometime in July. And of course, timeline jumping, people need to know and receive and have the tools within timeline jumping to really at least see the presentation, the initial webinar, to really understand how things work. There are other wonderful teachers, spiritual, great energy workers that do teach something similar to soul fragment retrieval, but not quite explained in a more street level sense to really take hold and become well known and common knowledge. So that's an important thing to get out. So just want to let you know about that in advance. And now on to your questions, or, again, put yourself first. What is it that you're, in many cases, something is continuing, you're having trouble, even if you've discussed it with me before in the past. Even if it's something you've discussed in the past and it's a chronic problem, it's okay. You can continue to talk about it and break things down even further. Because that's what this is about. Some things, especially if they're physical, take some time. No two ways about it. Alrighty. Let me see what Pat has written. I can hear you, receiving, not working. Okay. Just type that in again, Pat, to just correct that grammar. I can hear you, receiving, not working. I assume you mean that maybe the video is not coming through to you. So feel free to retype that in, but at least you can hear me. That's all that really matters. And okay, Catherine Dahl and Miguel have just joined. So good. Miguel, just in case you missed it, expect much more energetic conditions starting from July. I mean, technically they started since the solstice, but things will really improve more and more as early as July, and this matrix may collapse very visibly in October, and the next Q&A, which is 2 weeks from now, may be postponed by a week. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure you all know that. Pat says options not available, will write. Okay. Just I assume you're referring to that bottom or upper tray of icons where we got the reactions there, and has that raise hand feature.
Maybe yes, that is what I'm referring to. There's a tiny bit of the microphone that I'm able to access, but yeah, I can't raise my hand. Thanks.
Okay, interesting. Well, we can certainly hear you loud and clear, which is good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just mute you for now. Okay. And obviously the audio is all that matters. All right, down the middle is here. That's great. And so down the middle, was that Ed? I'm trying to remember. Ed, just letting you know, 2 weeks from now, the next Q&A may be postponed by a week. Okay. And certainly the second half of 2023 is looking better. So, okay. Go ahead, everybody, and just raise your hand. Let me see. So the bottom tray where it says reactions, okay, with a smiley face icon, just click on that and click on raise hand. And let me quickly get through your questions. Sumari. Okay. All right, Sumari. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Pardon me.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's not so much of a question per se. It's just such a wonderful synchronicity that one keeps noticing. And I've been hearing, by accident, listening to Magenta Pixie. I don't know if you know anything about her. She sort of tells spirituality in sort of fairy tale style so that people don't pick up on things.
I've come across her.
Online.
I've listened to at least 2 of her videos some time ago.
Yes, and she had an interview with an astrologer, and it was amazing to see how what she says and how the astrology basically speaks the same thing, and how it. And she was explaining about the solstice and so much of what happened, and even the patterns in the Schumann residence that came out. It was also relatable to what they said, and how she was explaining that after the solstice, all light workers will become light warriors.
Awesome.
Be responsible, not just for us, but for carrying everything for humanity. And that is why it's so that you now suddenly say you need it more for the masses. It's for me just another synchronicity. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. What's going to be interesting is the effects of, like, in the coming weeks and months, the physical biochips, for those of you who subscribe to Cobra, the physical biochips are going to be removed. And that's going to be quite a big interference or block that's no longer going to be there. And when that happens, both physical and non-physical light forces, both on-world and off-world, they're going to be able to really amp up, for lack of a better term, upgrade, up-level our abilities, I guess, the amount of light we accrete, our soul will be able to, more of it will be able to express itself, which is critical. And so it's going to be a pretty interesting, even 3 months, even the next 3 months is going to be quite interesting, let alone the next 6 months, about just how much of an extent, that's the only question mark right now, how much of an extent is all these removals of implants and whatnot is going to unravel our abilities. Okay. And yes, even you, Harold. So that's going to be interesting how that goes down. That's really going to awesome. Baraka is here. That's going to be pretty interesting. And it's a little bit of an unknown. You know, we have some idea, but don't be surprised, starting in July, your psychic senses really go up even more. Okay. Okay, interesting. So let's see what happens in the next 6 months as these biochips get removed. It's going to be quite riveting. Many of you may have seen those what appear to be unprecedented spiral circuitry type patterns in the Schumann frequency. You know, that happened at about, it started just before our mass meditation. But of course, for those of you who've had energy clearing sessions with a practitioner in whatever part of the world, sometimes you feel it even before the session, because time is an illusion. It's a very pliable thing in the world of energy. So not that we're claiming credit, but it's going to be interesting. So thank you for sharing that, Sumari. Yes, Magenta Pixie, it's good to get her perspective and insight on things as well. You know, she always seems to have an important piece of the puzzle to add. So it's a good idea to subscribe to her YouTube channel. Wonderful lady, very sweet lady. Michelle K, can you explain more about what the biochips are and do we all have them? Yes. This is all Cobra's information because of his connections with the RM and Pleiadians. You know, he's got more intimate knowledge of such things. Biochips, these are actual negative ET technology, so extremely advanced. There's two at the frontal lobe that attach to our frontal lobe. Well, not frontal lobe. Our optical nerve that comes out of the back of each of our eyeballs. They're attached to those somewhere behind our eyeballs and on the bottom area of our frontal lobe of our brain. And they see everything that you see with your physical eyes. Then there's the, and they can hear as well. And then there's the biochip just above the navel, which screws with the area of your body that produces the energy that you need, you know, your gut-mind connection, which many of you have come across. So, and they're connected to a quantum mainframe computer underneath DARPA. Okay. And that's one of their main primary surveillance tool. But they can, once certain brain patterns are noticed, such as getting into that deep theta state or alpha state even for psychic reception, you know, they emit strong electromagnetic fields, the two behind the eyeballs, which interferes. Okay. This is part of the reason why I take coffee before an energy session, to help maintain that focus and that theta state, you know. And it's why, you know, I've been more obsessed about activating physical genes, physical psychic genes, to be less reliant on having to get your brain wave state nice and calm and slow, like a quiet, still pond kind of thing, just to receive some kind of information. That's been the norm in terms of how humanity on the surface has had to do things. But there are also physical genes that allows you to, that just brings the information straight into the physical brain and processing parts of the physical brain to just see and hear just fine. So certain psychics that willy-nilly give readings all day, you know, to a list of clientele every half hour or every hour, they're able to do that. They have one of those or some of those genes switched on. Others can see the non-physical. They can just see it. Both light beings, angels, negative entities, they just see it as one friend put it, as clear as day. You know, that's because, and they do it without having to be in that theta state or even alpha state, just in the normal waking beta state of their brainwave pattern. That's because of physical genes. Certain physical genes are activated. And that's why I've been obsessing about that. You know, because like I said, physical biochips, they do interfere with brainwave patterns. That's where a lot of the ADD comes from when you're trying to just focus on the non-physical and have that dialogue or visualize and hold that vision. And then the ADD kicks in. For the most part, that's from the physical biochips that just start expanding these strong electromagnetic spheres, basically, to interrupt all of that. And as Cobra said, they've already started removing them. Great. You know, I haven't noticed anything in terms of mine being removed, but he did say that's going to take some time, and hopefully sometime in July we'll all, or even end of this month, we'll have all of ours removed. Okay. Now, it's still a good idea to do those brainwave entrainment audios. That really helps combat that. You know, I don't get around to doing it as often as I wish I could because we're all busy, right? So that's biochips for you, Michelle. You can, the details, let me see, to make sure I get the thing right. The details are here. Actually, I think they're here. Might be in the previous. Okay. Let me see here. All right. Okay, so he says, for now, the focus in the next few months will be on the clearing of the subquantum anomaly and the biochips. And from September, October, things may begin to get more interesting. All right, basically what I said. So September, October. Of course, a 144K will do its best to make things get way more interesting in a positive sense in sometime towards the end of July, because we know how to work. All right, so you can read up more about the biochips. I think it was, let me see here. Read the last situation update. Yeah, scroll down to Sunday, May 21st. Yeah, May 21st post, Sunday, May 21st. I think that's where he provides the details about the biochips. Okay. Alrighty. For more details than what I've just explained. Okay, Michelle? So that's the link there. And then just scroll down to the May 21st post. Alrighty. Miguel. When I get into the pool water, I notice that my body creates patterns of white light energy. And when they intersect, a bright white node, and when they intersect, they make a bright white node, and also it projects a rainbow pattern. Is this something that we may expect as we progress? Yeah. So more things, I don't know. You'll notice just things that was there, but didn't really notice how pretty something looked or how sparkly something looked, having done something that you've done before, and it just looks different this time. That's a good example, Miguel, of the kind of thing we can all expect to start seeing if we haven't already. Of course, we need to all get out a bit more. So, and that's a good example. And yes, this is something that you can expect to progress and continue on from there. It's only up from here, thankfully, because the last 6 months, I mean, the last 3 years was 2.5 years in particular was bad enough, but the last 6 months was pretty hard. We really moved into new higher frequencies and territory in that regard, and yeah, we've reached that level of clearing where things can stabilize and just continue to improve from here. All right, good to have you with us, Aranka. Pat, I'm doing MMS 5 weeks now. Some improvement. Knee pain continues and treatment causes strong tiredness. Hard to also do class exercise. It amps up detox and it can overwhelm the liver and the system and the lymph in particular. Now, I did mention magnetic clay bath. Just Google that. It should come up. It's simply a special kind of magnetic clay powder that you blend into a blender with warm water, and you just, half a cup into a blender of warm water, and you just blend it, and you just pulse it 5 times, and you pour it into a bathtub you'll be filling up with water as you're doing this, and staying there for a minimum 35 minutes, fully submerged except for your, mouth and nose, obviously. Try to do that. Add that to your regime. Doing that once a week is enough. I guess it takes an hour all up. The instructions are on the magnetic clay bath sort of website. Of course, there's YouTubers that make YouTube videos about everything you can think of on such things. Add that. Okay. Now, the reason why I recommend that as opposed to the ionic foot bath, many of you have come across the foot bath thing where you put your feet in a small tub and there's a little gizmo that ionizes the water or something like that. I was told by one expert that can cause a bit of harm to the organs, and that the magnetic clay bath isn't equally effective, but far more gentler and friendlier on the organs. So I'd recommend magnetic clay bath over the ionic foot bath. Yes, it does cause strong tiredness, because even without MMS, everyone's detoxing because of the garbage that's being shut down, neutralized, various forms of nanites, heavy metals, all that's being neutralized, and it's just floating around. So you'll all want to do a magnetic clay bath once a week initially. Then you can stretch it out to once every 2 weeks. Because, yeah, we're all detoxing at the physical level as well. Okay. Thank you, Michelle. Miguel. Okay. Also at night when I sleep during early hours before dawn. Also when I sleep during early hours before dawn, I found myself in the middle of yellow light dots. Then I'm transported to a certain scene, very vivid. But again, when I realized I get out of it? Meaning when you start to become lucid or wake up, you get out of it. Do I supposed to stay and experience the dream emotional to heal, or is this something made up by AI beings? That sounds like a natural positive experience. Sometimes there are dream insertions. I'm pretty sure I recorded a tool, a guided audio for Patreon members on what to do with that. Of course, you're all privy to that. I can get into it. What you'll want to do, Miguel, is, stay and experience the dream and try to stay lucid within the dream. In other words, conscious or awake within the dream. Okay. Just recognize that you're in, well, it's not a dream, it's a sleep state event. Just gain awareness or consciousness that you're in a so-called dream and continue with the dream. Okay. Just be, if anything negative shows up, okay, or even if an individual shows up and they seem normal, they don't look like a negative entity, they seem neutral or even positive, go ahead and transmute them. Just haphazardly transmute them, because if they are positive, then there's nothing to transmute. If they turn out to be negative, problem solved. Okay. So you'll still want to take that precaution if you gain lucidity or consciousness that you're in a sleep state event. You still want to do that. All right. Just to make sure. Okay. Now, in a sleep state event that was clearly either negative or seemed okay, that morning after you get up, you'll still want to do a verbal revocation, just in case it was a negative dream insertion, or the individual that you was talking with you was a negative entity tricking you into something and you weren't lucid enough to transmute them, although you can always go back and transmute them, just like similar to what you do in a that third party witness kind of thing that you do in soul fragment retrieval. But quite often a verbal revocation does the trick after. Okay. Now, that's in, let me see here. That's in Patreon as well. Okay, 144K Patreon. I'm going to see if I can bring that up here and now, but I don't want people waiting, so I'm just going to continue on for now. So just in case, Miguel, that it is a dream insertion by either negative entities or a negative AI, you'll want to do that verbal revocation just to play it safe. Something I do all the time. Aranka, Jim, I have at least 4 ET implants. Rest assured, we all had a lot more than that. I have at least 4 ET implants in my ears, eye, and right thigh since 2017. And they are constantly buzzing, clicking, sending NAD, receiving data with the Wi-Fi frequencies all around us. Yeah. I am constantly being exhausted. Yep, I do that. Sleepless, and my brain is so tired, and with all the knowledge you share and the high knowledge I'm connected to, I can't seem to get rid of, dissolve, stop these implants. Okay, well, that suggests that these implants are physical. Okay, and physical implants, non-physical implants can simply be removed. You do that holographic visualization, all right, that most of you know how to do. Transmute it or turn it white and gently move it out. And that's all you need to do with non-physical implants. Physical implants, they're usually connected to something on the physical plane. And you need, that's where we need help. Now, you can do the same transmutation process to make it have less of an effect or simply not achieve its goal. You can do that, or overwhelm it with more light from your system, your soul, by keeping your chakra clear, your aura clear, and that kind of thing. That does negate their effects to a very significant degree. But physical implants need to be removed by positive ETs, okay, which is what they're already doing. And you seem to have extra, Aranka, and they're going to be removed over the next, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. Because you're right, they do cause exhaustion. And often sleeplessness. So yes, no doubt they are a problem. Do all that, continue doing other things to negate them until they're removed by positive ETs. Okay. You know, because even super soldiers like Harold is struggling with these things. You know. When something is physical, it's a bit of a different story in terms of removing it. It's nowhere near as easy as removing something non-physical. And again, they're connected to some kind of external network. They used to all be connected to some kind of negative ET underground installation. Not so much these days. Now it's just mainly, you know, Black Ops, CIA, DARPA, negative military. They may be connected to those sorts of things. So this is some indicator, Aranka, that you were in the 20 and back with these physical implants. And like I said, they will be removed. You know, it's a global coordinated effort to remove these physical implants, which is why they're going to take some time. And we'll get there. And rest assured, I know what it's like to be, I suppose, technically tortured, because sleep deprivation, for example, is a form of torture. Most of us have been there. I certainly know what it's like. And just, you know, again, there are technologies that can do a lot to help you sleep, that negates or even neutralizes the frequencies given off by these physical implants. And there's one more thing that I'm investigating now, but again, it costs money. You know, I'm trying to come up with either free or very, very cheap, affordable solutions, okay, for everyone. So since 2017, all my needs and plans are being hacked and go wrong. Yeah, I understand. My communication methods, emails, texts are interfered with. That shouldn't be happening anymore. Do a verbal revocation on black magic spells that and rituals that may have been made against you. Okay. Because that's a sign of chaos energy that you know, one trick pony black magicians would do, or dark workers would send. Because I remember a time when my phone and texts would act real funny, really wonky. You know, like the volume, I'd be watching a video and the volume would always go down, for example. This is back in 2019. That's, as FM 144 revealed, that's chaos energy being sent by rituals. So do a verbal revocation against black magic rituals against you, Aranka. Because negative military, negative CIA, they do sometimes work with dark workers, okay, witches and magicians. So that's the thing to do there. I signed up for your class to get more help and stay live being connected. Thank you for all your earth help. Love to you all. So that's the deal there, Aranka. It's difficult when the problem is a physical one and it's inside you, like nanoparticles. Yeah, that's an issue. That's why being on the surface and stuck on the surface is so hard. So just follow those recommendations and it'll at the very least stabilize your situation. Okay. Pat, thanks. I have been reluctant to use a tub since water was affected by the train wreck 90 miles from here. I could do the clay bath for feet. Also, knees are okay for getting in bath. Understandable concern there. All right. Briefly look into see if there's some way you can get the water tested. You know, there is, let me see. You know, it's awkward buying a whole heap of distilled water. I mean, doable, and then boiling it and pouring that in. That's awkward, worth it, but awkward. You know, you can consider that, but see if there's some way you can get the water tested there to see what's actually in it, Pat. By Googling how to test your water, how to test water. So again, it's another reminder of how hard it is on the surface. Okay. Now, Pat, if you've been doing it for 5 weeks, take 1 week off. Okay. For your system to catch up with the detoxing. Okay. So go ahead and do that. Aranka, I had an energy healing teaching practice from 2012, but due to all the implants and setbacks in 5G cell towers on my ear, my home and office, I couldn't go on since 2021, and I hope to find a way to live in a country away from Wi-Fi and get sleep and heal. Just feels like Earth-light beings are badly targeted and on the defense. That's going to start to change over the next 6 months. You know, 5G cell towers are an issue. Let me see here. There is something, you know, it's a bit expensive, but very worthwhile. It's called the bubble. Okay. It's a little gizmo that pulses out an electrical pulse, but it does it through 2 Tesla coils. And apparently it's working wonders. All right. And you wear it as a necklace. Okay. Now my partner's going to get one of these. and she's going to start testing it. And we're going to see how that test goes. But SIFO looks very promising in terms of 5G radiation and even spike protein shedding. It looks very promising to that. The problem is it costs $890. Okay. This is why I obsess about cheaper alternatives, such as, well, you know, Wi-Fi. You can get a Wi-Fi guard, you know, for and smart meter guard for $150, much more affordable. I'm pretty sure I've recommended those before. So I'm going to assume that you've gotten yourself a Wi-Fi guard and a smart meter guard, Aranka, because I've been given the links to those, and they're much cheaper. Anyway, so back to the pendant. That's called a bubble, all right, and it's made by 2 Swiss scientists. And we're going to test that, and I will let you know all how it goes, especially you, Aranka, because you're just simply more sensitive, and you're struggling, and you got some extra implants that they may have inserted you in 2017, where there were still negative ET DUMs, underground bases, around, and it's still possible to have been kidnapped, taken down, an implant inserted, and brought back up. That still would have been completely possible in 2017. Not so much these days, because these days all negative ET bases are gone, you know. So, like I said, I'm going to assume that you've covered up your Wi-Fi and your smart meter. Okay. Of course, if you live in a townhouse or apartment buildings, you need to get out. Simple as that. I couldn't go on 601 to live in a country from Wi-Fi and sleep and heal, because it feels like Earth-like beings are being targeted. Yeah. The past 3 years in particular has been the hardest, no doubt, as the war to free the planet started reaching its climactic end. Down the middle. Okay. Who are the Gamalgam? If you listen to the soft fragment retrieval audio, it's 28 minutes long. To do a soft fragment retrieval, you get introduced to them. They're basically the lowest level of the teams that I work with anyway. And they're fantastic auric technicians, excellent at transmuting, and they're in ships. They still need ships, and they're the ones you'll want to dialogue with fairly regularly as well. Okay. All right, Miguel. I feel like I talked to another being during those dreams, and I call for ID, they vanish, and they call me love. Or sometimes I'm taken away. All right. Just transmute them just to make sure. Okay. And even if they're neutral and you transmute them, you transmute them into their higher form, higher aspect of whatever it is that they are. But certainly when you feel like you're talking to another being, and you ask them to identify themselves and then they vanish, see if you can, get them to show themselves and then transmute them. And if they are light beings of the true light, there's nothing to transmute. In fact, it'll probably feel good to them. Alrighty. We're at the top of the hour. Oh, okay, that's a long one. And I'll take this. Unless you've got something urgent, I'm just going to make this the last question. All right. Yeah. So you got a new phone, and still the texts and emails from people you need to hear from are missing. Okay, so verbal revocation on black magic against you. And once we finish this Q&A, I'll I'll end the Q&A here, so people can leave if they want to, and I'll leave the chat open and stick the link to the verbal revocation. Actually, let me see if I can find it now. And leave that link in the chat box. There's a written one which will do. I'm pretty sure we did an audio verbal revocation. For Patreon, well, maybe I'll give you both, but either one will do. So let me just finish off reading Aranka's text here. I saw the small greys quite often near my bed since 2017, and every evolving soul light being I had as clients or students, I got more harmed by the ETs. You got more harmed by the ETs. Transmute them next time you see them, or use a similar soft fragment retrieval kind of a process. Like on the fly, you don't have to go up to the amalgam and just go there the way you would with a soft fragment retrieval seed from a bit of a distant third-party view. Transmute them. Don't put up with them. My methods of energy work are very evolved, and the ETs follow me and want to know what I know about the soul and how to connect. Creates the impression that they're kind of lost and don't have a soul. It's just knowledge they want, and we are in their way. Yeah, transmute them. Because you haven't got time for this sort of thing. There's a ton of positive ETs that they can contact and establish a connection with. Don't have to bother you. You're under too much duress for this sort of nonsense. And how to connect is just knowledge they want, and we are in their way as light bringers. They are abusing the light bringers intensely to isolate us and cause friction among us on Earth. No doubt. I have lots of EMF guards and spent money on EMF shields, and I know how to make smart meter guards. Good. I just couldn't quite remember, but none of the shielding is enough for my frequency. Yes, I am listening to you. Yes, I am in a temp state of living, temporary state of living in various places in Oregon. It's so hard to find places that have no Wi-Fi. Yeah, that's true. Yes, since 2020, we are very challenged by 5G EMFs, but many people don't know how EMF and implants are connected and used to destroy the cells. We need more info from the positive ETs. Yeah. And make sure you transmute those ETs, those greys. All right. And that bubble pendant thing, you may even have a neutralizing effect on physical implants even, or negating effect, because it pulses, it's through two little Tesla coils in the pendant and pulses out through that. So it may negate or even completely neutralize physical implants, which is what the biochips are, for example. You know, because you need, again, when it comes to physicality, physical level interference, it's a bit of a different animal. Okay, it really is something different. You know, they either need to be removed or the external network or mainframe that runs them shut down, in which case they just become like floating junk, or neutralize them in the meantime by a counter frequency, a counter pulsing frequency. And that's why we're investigating. I suppose on all your behalf, we're investigating this bubble thing. Okay. Actually, I've got a brochure for it, and I might go get it right now, so that you know that there are answers. So let me see here. Let me go grab it. I'll just be a few seconds. Okay, so this is it here. Okay. And we're going to invest in this in the coming days. Again, I don't know how well you can come out. And so we're going to invest in this to, at the very least, neutralize physical implants, at the very least, until they're removed. Okay, until they're all removed. It's just more of them there. Let me see. So, yes, stay tuned. Solutions are there. Solutions are coming. Again, I always look for solutions, again, as in the category or the topic of physical implants. I'm always looking for, you know, the most affordable alternatives. Okay. And this is for the whole house. You know, kind of like a large radionics. That costs about $3,500, something like that. Okay. And I'm sure there's other stuff out there, but you know, we're in the middle of electronic warfare. Okay, we're in the middle of electronic warfare, and this is what electronic warfare is like. It'll end, but such things never end soon enough, right? So again, it's a classic case of sticking with it, not giving up, and you know, investing as much as yourself, either in time or in money, typically both, to be able to make that, whatever that time amount is going to be between now and the removal of physical implants, a much easier one. Okay. So that's another recommendation to you, Aranka. Yeah, costs money. But let me know when you want to get it. You know, we're going to test it ourselves first just to make sure that we certainly can recommend it. And then I'll make that recommendation to you, Aranka. All right. Thank you, Jim. We will break through. Well said, Aranka. Pat, any comments regarding troops in many US states on the street, also Russian war? All right. That's a little off topic, but I'll answer it anyway, because we're pretty much at the end here. The cabal tried to take over and was expecting to take over or retake, more to the point, the banking system or the servers that run the banking system or the IT infrastructure, because I've lost control of that some time ago. Otherwise, I would have crashed everything. They thought they were going to, they made another attempt, I don't know, a week ago, whatever it was, to take back control of all the banking servers and crash everything, steal everyone's money and crash everything, causing a complete collapse, pandemonium and chaos, bank runs and so forth. Obviously prematurely in this case. And that's why, you know, ironically, the same guys that tried this sent out the US military to get ready, or chaos is going to break out with the bank runs. And obviously they were stopped by the light forces. They couldn't take over the banking system, and that's why nothing changed. And all is well, all things considered. The war in Ukraine, that's most of the real action with that was always underground, the dams and the tunnels. That's where the real action was with that. That took some time and quite a bit of resources on the part of the white hats to clear out, which they pretty much have by now. And so you can expect the war on the surface, on the ground, to wrap up pretty soon, within the next month or so. Aranka, I have very dollars Blue Shield devices from New Zealand, a new Q-Wave pendant I keep in my pocket all the time, and other EMF shielding. Love copper nuggets and crystals and shungite. All help, but are not enough. I will look into bubble. Okay. Yeah, the bubble gives off a certain, how can I put it? Yeah, it's got two little Tesla coils, which I don't think the other things have. But good on you for getting those things and taking action, Aranka. So yeah, look into bubble and take it from there. Miguel, are you aware the process for obtaining national citizenship is in place now here in the US? Do you know anything? This is a manifestation of the physical for our freedom. The process of obtaining national citizenship is in place now here in the US. Again, that's also a bit off topic, but I am not aware about that. So I don't know anything about that, so I can't answer it. And that's that. Alrighty. Yeah, good on you, Aranka, for taking all that action. You're simply an extra sensitive being, and you simply, don't give up looking for a place out in the country. Okay. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to close or end this, at least the video audio side of things. I'm going to leave the chat box open for another 10, 15 minutes, mainly for Ananka to get the verbal revocation. The verbal revocation against black magic. It's because that's an important tool for everybody to have. Okay. So I'm just going to provide that to everyone in the chat in a few minutes. And good seeing you, Harold. Good seeing you, everybody. Catherine, Michelle, Pat, and Ananka, just hold on to that verbal revocation against black magic, because I think you've been black magicked, in which case nothing you do goes right. Okay. So, and thank you, Ananka. All right, thank you, Pat. All righty, so I'm going to stop the recording.